This is my project car. It is a 68 Cutlass. I've swapped in a 350 Chevy engine with a 700 R4 transmission. The front suspension is completely rebuilt with new sway bar, inch and a quarter, new ball joints, long ball joints on top. It's got different steering knuckles for correcting bump steer, has lowering springs. It's been adjusted for some positive caster to make it handle. This car is meant to be for both street driving and autocross. I might take it to the drag strip, I don't know. The engine itself is pretty basic. It's just a Goodwrench motor that I put a cam kit into it and an Edelbrock intake and hooker headers. The current project is to get the motor mount brackets welded in place so then I can pull the engine and get it all the firewall and stuff for detailing and paint. Okay, we're welded in now, tacked anyway. We're tacked at the top here a little bit. Down below here is another tack that's probably hard to see with the lighting, but there it is. All I'm asking this to do is to stay in place long enough for me to pull the engine out. There's the other one at the bottom. And take the ground clamp off. I got a couple more tacks at the top. Now, oh, of course not. Try this one more time. Get things loosened up and out of the way. Oh, look at that. Good, because that one's dragging to the end. Okay. There. It's out. Hi folks, this is Tim again. I got the motor out of the car and I've started cleaning up a little bit, but that's not particularly interesting to talk about. So I'm going to talk about some of this. Now I have this Right Stuff brake kit. It's a conversion kit to put disc brakes on the front of the 68 Oldsmobile. Also works on A, F, and X bodies. There's some things about the kit that make it a little bit difficult to do, but not particularly. This brackets, this is a picture, you know, so you can see how they go on, because the instructions aren't the best. But this is how the brackets go on. And I removed the pedal assembly from my car so I could show and improve how it goes. So you can see, and of course I'm going to clean this up and de-rust it. But this is how it bolts on. You're not going to get the clearances right because of the thickness of the firewall, but that's not a huge difference. But this shows you that these brackets are on the right way. And the reason I'm making a point about that is because the brackets on the original are the other way. And you know, that could confuse you if you say, well, the old ones are that way, they should be this way too, but these aren't. Another point to point out, there are different size fittings, some of which you may have or not have. And I've read online people talking about these kits where they don't come with all the fittings that you need. So I have some of them here. I have some on order. But the way these are made, this is one for power disc brakes and drum in the rear. This is my original junction block, which was made for four-wheel manual brakes. Now, well, they were four-wheel drum brakes, but they were power. Now, the sizes of the fittings are different. They did that on purpose so people wouldn't accidentally mix parts and create a, a big danger to themselves. So you see fitting sizes and such are different. And so this kit, it comes with these 4 fittings so that you can bolt this onto the master cylinder as you're supposed to, but you're going to need a different fitting for here. You may have the same fittings for here and here for your front lines. As you can see, I took out my front lines when I pulled the motor so that I could clean things up properly. And this end here goes to the rubber brake line, and this end here is what went into this old junction block. Now the fitting size, I believe, is the same. So that's a standard fitting size there, and that's a standard one here. But as the instructions show, your thread to the rear is 9/16 18, and the size of the brake line going to the rear, on my car anyway, is 1/4 inch. And so you have to get the correct line and the correct fittings. And since mine is 1/4 inch, but this is a different size fitting in the back, you're going to have to change that. In my case, the lines are rotten, so I got to change the lines too. So what I did was I found this online supplier, which has different size fittings. This is a kit that came with a 3/16 line kit. I had to order the 1/4 inch line kit today because I couldn't, I didn't know that it was 1/4 inch. But it's from For Lifetime Lines. I'm not being paid anything, but that's where I ordered this stuff from, so that I have these size fittings. See these other ones? The 1/2 for the 3/16 line. And this one has the 9/16 for 3/16 line. And as you can see, you're going to need 9/16, but for 1/4 inch line, if you have the same kind of car I have. If you have one of these other models, I don't know what's the line. This, when it comes, these things are not on there. You have to put them on the right way. The master cylinder is on the brake booster as it comes from the kit, through the mail. And some things about this. This here is your proportioning valve. You have these 2 things which are made up. They weren't bent exactly right, the one in my kit. What I did was the bracket that holds this, I took it to a local shop and had them weld up the bracket rather than trying to bend on these lines, because these lines can get brittle and crack if you try to adjust them too many times, and then you can't use them. Or you may not know that they're brittle and cracked, and you use them and you hurt yourself with a car crash. So it goes on like this. And another thing, the bolts weren't long enough. They weren't long enough for this. Because if you put on both washers that they give you, it won't bolt up. So I do this. You'll want to look up what grade of bolt that you're going to need. And it's possible that the kit that you get will have the correct bolts. I don't know. This is just what I ran into. Putting that on there, this is the way it goes together. Like this. And I'm not going to go crazy tightening because this is just a test fit situation anyway. I'm probably going to buy more hardware because I don't like the way that came. And from this point, if you get the hardware that you need, and you get the fittings that you need, you're going to have to run the lines. I've heard some people were able to use existing lines and existing fittings and make it work. In my case, I'm just putting all new lines. But it's nice to have the old ones so you have a pattern, because you can see that that's a nice simple shape. And this is the way this goes together. Just like that. And then this nut here, I believe. And some of this hardware is metric, by the way. So, you know, you'll want to open up both drawers of the toolbox for this. So with a big job like this, what I'm going to do, because I'm a hobbyist and I do not recommend following my advice necessarily, is when I'm done with mine, I'm going to have a proper mechanic check this out, because this is brakes and you want to make sure that it's done correctly. I'm going to put the new clevis on. I just did that to show how the clip works. And once it's done, there's lots of videos on how to bleed the brakes. There's lots of videos on how to flare the lines. I recommend, you know, unless you're a mechanic already, you know, have a competent mechanic look at some of your flares. Have a competent mechanic inspect your vehicle after you're done to make sure your brakes work correctly and they're put together correctly. But other than that, have confidence and just do stuff, you know, because you can't learn without doing, right? And so that's the basic idea with this. Okay, so you can see that the old brake booster and master cylinder are gone. The pedal assembly is out, so there's normally studs sticking out there. This goes in just like this, and that's how it goes on. You notice that this is angled about right now that the thing is on the way it's going to be. It's odd how GM is, where they like to slope these master cylinders uphill a little bit, but that's the way they do. So from this point, the next steps after this is I got to do a lot of cleaning, and then I'm going to paint, and then I'm going to start putting things back together. But for right now, this is it.